Welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud, where three women in tech come together to share real stories about leadership, life, and everything in between. Join our hosts, Karami McCollum.
In other news, these headphones, I'm going to have to do something else. I am on fire.
Cassandra Parker.
It's pretty basic. We have to stay fully caffeinated in order to do all the things that we do.
And Rachel Rogers.
I don't know if we can survive this. I feel like this one goes in the vault.
Your go-to source for candid conversations and unfiltered insights. So, grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and join the chaos.
Welcome back to Coffee Meets Cloud. Thank you guys for joining us. We could not be more thrilled for this episode. We have another guest. He is not just passionate about technology, he's dedicated to showing how it can make everyday life easier and more enjoyable for everyone. If you've ever scrolled through LinkedIn and found yourself smiling at inspiring videos or feeling motivated to explore new ideas, you've probably seen his work. Whether he's sharing behind-the-scenes moments from exciting live events, dishing out tech insights, or embarking on a new adventure with his trusty sidekick, Astro, he brings fun, energy, and wisdom to everything he does. Get ready for a conversation that promises to be both inspiration and a few surprises. Please join us in welcoming the one, the only, Mr. Scott Stafford.
Wow.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much. I am really excited to be here. Rachel reached out to me and she said, hey, we have a group of beautiful young ladies that want to get together and chat with you while drinking caffeine. And I said, hey, I'm in, right? So I'm really
less.
Sounds like a good time. Well, we always like to start off our guest episodes with a few get to know you questions. I hope these don't put you on the spot. Let's see what you got here.
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, first question is, what is your go-to comfort food?
I imagine a lot of you guys know that it probably has something to do with espresso. But I actually, when I'm actually having a day where maybe it's raining or I'm a little down, I actually mix it with German chocolate cake. So I take both parts of, the caffeine field there, and I actually sometimes even put them in a bowl and mix them. So I got into that back in college. So between those things with that much caffeine, it's hard to not feel in a good mood. And then, yeah. So
German chocolate, like the one you eat?
Yes.
And espresso together. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh. I can see that.
It's a real kick of caffeine. And the great part about it, it's different types of caffeine. So anybody who's into caffeine knows that whether you have tea or coffee, when you mix the different flavors, you get a different boost, or there's a different, I would call it buzz between each of them. So for those two, that combination is bam. I love it.
Man, I feel like we just got like our new favorite food. Like something we didn't even know we needed.
You're speaking my love language right now. Yeah. I mean, right? I love both of those things. Whew. All right. Well, now we all know what keeps Scott moving. If you ever wondered how he has so much energy, we have now unlocked that.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Next question. How do you stay so motivated every day?
For me, I actually like to do what probably a lot of you guys like to do. I just kind of go down social media, but I do it a little bit differently. So I've had the opportunity to engage with a lot of people, to be part of their life, whether that's my good friend Stephanie Peretti, Jennifer out in Africa, you name it. I've had a lot of people that I've got to mentor or be part of their life. When I scroll down and I look what they're doing in their life, it motivates me. I'm like, wow, bam. This person is doing that. I go, wow, me too. Even I'd be like, everybody is raising to new heights. It's kind of like one of my real good friends, Susanna Playstack, right? I have watched her career and I'm like, she is taking this right opportunity always to the next level, right? Being an architect, being an evangelist, just keep rising. Right now, she's actually advocating, and I think she's the program lead for Agentforce. So just everybody is like taking this opportunity, the fourth industrial revolution by the horns. And I'm like, hey, me too, right? I'm feeling a little bit down maybe in the day, but I'm like, I see everybody else doing it and it just motivates you. Just bam, we can do anything if we put our mind to it.
That's so cool. I really had never thought about it that way, but look for the inspiration in your feed to level up.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I think that's a great point though, because so many times nowadays, things that are on social media can get us down, right? Like it can be so negative. So
Right.
putting that positive spin on it, saying like, how are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? And using that to motivate yourself. I think that's a great idea. I love that.
Yes. Okay. Third question. What is one thing you wish your younger self knew?
This is a good one. I guess I didn't actually think much about this until this moment, but I probably wish that I knew that I wasn't that rare. So as I've experienced a lot within the ecosystem, I've realized that we are all just basically looking for connection, right? As I've gone to quite a few conferences, I go, yeah, it's pretty simple, right? Everybody here is actually looking to meet somebody. So as I realized that, I go, just be the catalyst to make that happen, right? I'm not that rare. Everybody here is in the same boat and we all need each other.
I love that a lot because I tell people all the time, that person over there that you're maybe intimidated by or you're not sure how to approach or how to read or whatever it is, they put their pants on one leg at a time. They're just humans too. Don't let their online persona or their title or whatever it is intimidate you. And that's kind of one of the, what do you call it? I don't know if you call it a precept, but one of the things about our show that we wanted to do was kind of break that down and go, look, you're welcome to look behind this curtain. There is no,
Secret.
passcode. Yeah, there's no passcode that just gets handed out to a few that you've got to, anybody can do it. We'll just talk about how we did.
Yeah. I remember, you ladies probably remember that interview that I got one time. I was interviewing people, right, for roles. And this person comes on the interview line. And all I said was, hello, my name's Rachel Rogers. I'm so excited to meet you. And I got, oh my God, I knew that you were going to be hard. And they hung up. And I was like, wow, that's different, because they were so scared and so nervous. They had like all these preconceived notions of who I was going to be. And so I reached out to them on the side. I mean, they didn't get the job because you can't do that. But like, I reached out to them on the side and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, like that. It seems like you're under a lot of pressure. Like, are you okay? Because, we are very similar, right? Or like the first time you ever get into one of those important meetings and you realize how decisions are really made and you're like, wow, this isn't that mysterious. Like, it's actually, I'm probably maybe sad that I know it now, right? In some instances, depending on who those people are. But that's a great inspiration to realize, we are, a lot of us, in the same boat. And that's how, as we navigate this upcoming wave of AI, Scott, and all the things that are headed towards us, how do you kind of view how people can help, not be so scared of it, to really embrace it and really think about ways that they can start their own journey with AI? Like, how are you helping people in that arena?
For me, I like to think about what is the world going to be like, right? In 5 years from now, that's not going to change. So I would actually go into the supermarket and I would watch the interaction between couples, between people, right? And most of the time, it was pretty interesting that when you interact with a significant other, you don't really talk about tech or anything too complicated. Usually it's something pretty simple, like, hey, on my way here, I saw a cute deer. Right? It's that basic connection between humans. So as I've realized more and more, yeah, AI is here. It's kind of fun, right? We have a new tool. It is incredible what it can do, but humans still are going to connect with each other very similar in 5 years as they are today. And I think I would challenge people, if you start to get nervous, just go out, maybe into a drinking establishment, a bar or something like that. Just watch the interaction. You're going to find that nobody's really talking about agentic solutions or convolutional neural networks. It's very basic, primitive stuff that connects it and allows us to actually bond, right, as humans.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
think
think
that's.
it's gonna go ahead, Rachel?
I was just going to say, the only challenge I have to that, Scott, I don't know if you've seen the latest trend, but when you argue with your spouse and then you put it in Chat GPT and Chat GPT proves that you were right in the argument, like, that's the only way I could see, like, potentially when we talk about spousal interactions moving forward, right? Like, if you need that extra validation step, and maybe where it gets into supermarket conversation of, well, Chat GPT said that I was correct in that argument.
Or just wait, we're going to put this in Chat GPT and see if I'm right.
Wow, I actually never thought about that. Someone was going to use ChatGPT to validate an argument against me. But I think if you really notice, right, if you start to advocate, right, in your relationships of what we are, right, AI is a tool. It's a machine that we make, right? It is pretty cool, right? It's a lot of mathematical equations all put together that give a response. Each time that you ask, right, you can ask a billion questions and get a billion unique answers, right? It's non-deterministic, but it cannot love. There's so many things that you can do as a human, right? And when I say love, in all the manifestations that it has, like you love to do your job, you love to cast a smile. It can't do that. So that really makes me feel like, hey, we have something that it will never, ever have, right? Now, I don't know though, about the idea that I think you got to be really careful of pinning it against, like a conversation, because it does tend to mirror back your point of view, right? So you might want to premise that with saying, give me the devil's advocate, because that's probably what your significant other is going to do. It's like, well, let me be the one that initiate the prompt.
Right. My husband would say, let me put it in my Chat GPT and we'll see if I'm right.
Yeah.
It's an echo chamber. You do have to be careful. And, they're constantly updating the model to give you that positive reinforcement to bring you back. And, it hasn't been super transparent about how they're changing it and when they're changing it.
Right.
So you definitely, I think, have to be proactive in learning and understanding what you're engaging with. But one of the things, you talked about the human connection and how it's not going to replicate the human connection. Certainly not. But one of the things we've talked about in a prior episode was how it's just going to impact the way humans interact with each other when they do, right? Because inevitably, these tools meant to make you work faster and more efficient are also removing the need to do critical thinking and coming up with your own opinions, right? Like people are basically outsourcing their opinion. So then where does that leave us when we are just in a room with another person and our own thoughts? I mean, what does the interaction look like? Are we just going to end up in a world where we all suddenly think the same because the algorithm is teaching us the same ideas?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about how it's already changed me. I mean, for a few minutes, I've had an experience where, hey, there was no internet, it was all down. And I kind of panicked. I said, well, how am I going to do my job? Like, I'm so used to interacting it and doing it really quick. I was like, am I really going to write all these responses out or whatever I was doing by hand? And I think for us to realize, though, to ground ourselves in the fact that it is changing us, and then think about carving out what do we want ourselves. There's somebody that her name is Turkle, and she's a professor at MIT, and she talks a lot about the human interaction. Shirley Turkle is her name. And she says that you got to think about when you write like a love letter or a poetry to somebody, right? It's really not about the other person. They may actually look at it and maybe never even read it. But what you were doing is you were transforming yourself. As you carved out those words, it was changing who you were. You allowed yourself to have those feelings. So I think that's something that we're going to have to think about, right? Even as I use and interact, I want to make sure that I am bringing about and elevating the best version of myself, right, to the world. So that's just something to think of. And then I also want to normalize something else. We do need conflict. So we might think that with our husband or spouse or whatever, that you wish they would just constantly validate your point of view. But that's actually not the case. Have your husband agree with you for like 4 or 5 days, and pretty soon you're going to be like, this isn't fun anymore. He doesn't have his own opinion. He agrees with everything. I can't always be right. How many times have we said that?
You don't marry the yes person, right?
No.
That's never the one you marry.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, Scott, one thing we've talked about on this show before is how do we think this changes children's education, right? We've seen, with children coming up in the education system, we've heard a lot about people in college leveraging AI to write their papers, not actually taking the time themselves. And so you think about a physician, right, that passed med school because AI helped him out. Is that really the person you want to be your physician, right? And so how do we, like, what are strategies we can employ as we're raising young children, right? And as we're helping build, this next version of society, how do you think we can help in that arena of, making sure that when they use it, right, it's used in a positive format and not supplementing their learning?
I think it's key that we emphasize curiosity in any opportunity that you have with your kids. So if you're out and kids are naturally curious, they'll ask you, hey, do you know what that is? And reward that. Say, hey, that was really great. Like, let's supercharge this whole notion of being curious. So AI is here for the answers. Humans are here for the questions, right? So as long as you stay curious, you have endless number of questions that you can get it. But what I'm concerned about is if people aren't necessarily curious and they're just doing the job of the day. So you had some workflow to do and you knew that when that was done, you're done, right? Then we're going to have a problem. But if you're always someone that's curious, it's a good thing. But on the other side of that, there is one thing I will put as a caveat. They always say curiosity kills the cat. Right. And for me, I've been kind of exploring that because I wake up a lot in the middle of the night. And it's because I start thinking about all the different things that AI could do. I will read some articles on Science Daily and I'll say, hey, what if we did this? What if we combined those? And then I do a little bit more research. And then it started to, I started not to have enough sleep. So you got to kind of keep that in balance. You do have a system that, hey, when you come up with something, it could possibly give you, the answer or lead you down the right way, right? But you got to keep it in check. But I think for the most part, we're seeing that a lot of people aren't as curious as they need to be. They just want to get their workflow done or get their high school work done and then go to the football game or whatever. And you want to spare them to say, well, the work, right, can be done a lot quicker. So now it's time to be extra curious.
I love that. And I love the rewarding kids for being curious, because so many times I have a 5-year-old and so many times he will ask me all these questions. And eventually I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go do this other thing. Please stop asking me questions. But at some point, he won't want to ask me those questions anymore, right? At some point, he thinks on his own. So asking those questions is what keeps his mind focused and what he's, constantly thinking. So I need to be better about just encouraging his curiosity. So that's great.
Yeah, curiosity is one of those skills. You guys have probably heard me say the skills that we have, right, that machines don't. And it's right. Inspiration, curiosity, vulnerability. Right? Those are something that machines or AI systems can't do for you. So if you realize that as a parent and you're raising your kid as they, keep getting, older and older each year, try to emphasize them, right? Allow them to be vulnerable with you and you to be vulnerable with them. Teach them the value of inspiration, kind of like what I just shared when I go down LinkedIn, right? I'm valuing that. I'm like, I'm in a low moment. I look and I get inspired by other people's story. Right? It is so cool, right? So many times, even my good friend Anna Schaefer, I'll scroll down her thing and I'll see her climbing a rock and I'll be like, bam. And I'll literally, put what I'm done doing and I'll go out and look for a rock to do the same thing. So inspiration, vulnerability, those things are going to be key, and AI is not going to be able to replicate it.
So a lot of people see AI as being sort of like cold or impersonable, but I've heard you talk about its ability to actually deepen relationships. So what kind of changed your perspective, or did you just right out of the gate feel that way about AI?
I think I've realized kind of like as Salesforce went, down the journey more, that it is a tool that can augment, right? So to be able to allow it to help my relationships. So there is perspectives of other people, and you can use it as kind of like a sounding board to get like a preliminary understanding. Hey, what's going on here? Is there a part of the perspective that I don't understand? There was one time I had someone give me a call and they were like in a bar situation. They called and they said, hey, this is what happened right now. And they were freaked out in the bathroom. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you called, but your perspective is a little tainted right now. This is a completely normal transaction, right? Why don't you just go over there and give it a chance, right? Your perspective's off. So for me, sometimes I use AI the same thing. I ask it some questions. I get to understand a different part, because it's really hard to totally understand people. I would like to remind people that technology, believe it or not, it's actually very easy. People, that's actually very hard.
That's the truth.
Yeah. And what you just said made me think, like what some people struggle with, to your point, is understanding other people or understanding how to meet someone where they are. And an example of this, which I hadn't really thought that much about, is I saw, it was probably a TikTok because I doom scroll. Sorry, I'm guilty. But I saw, and I've used this, where someone asked AI, I don't know if it was ChatGPT or what, and they said, can you help me understand insert topic here, but explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old, right? And I was like, explosion in my brain. And I ended up doing that one day coming down the road. My son was asking me about color blindness in dogs. I'm thinking to myself, number one, I don't even really understand color blindness, let alone put it in words that my 8-year-old is going to understand. So I immediately prompted ChatGPT in the app, hey, help me understand, color blindness in dogs, but explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old. And it did. And how about I walked away completely understanding color blindness, and was able to just like literally read it to him. And we were all in the car like, oh, so, it's the same kind of concept. Like, help me look for blind spots when I want to explain this to someone, or I want to train someone, or I'm going to have a meeting with someone, and this is what I know about their background or their learning style. Help me meet them where they are.
I do find that it's excellent for tailoring conversations. So, right, like I'm trying to say something, and maybe at work, I'm trying to say it in a very basic way. I need to elevate it for a certain audience, right? Or I need to your point, like I need to change the context for a certain audience. I do use it that way. And I do find that it gives you the proper words. You're like, yes, that's the word I was trying to think of, but I couldn't. So it can really be advantageous and can really help you just in interactions with people.
Yeah, I think the cautionary tale there, right, is remember your critical thinking skills, right? Like there is a notion of this, right? Like the more you become dependent on it, the more you rely on it to make that translation for you, right? You could lose something, right? It's that part I talked about in the book about that critical thinking skill is really, that's going to be the differentiator. It's the same thing Scott's talking about the different levers you have that are only human levers, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't critically think through things and you always just accept what is given to you, you lose that curiosity, right?
That's what I was going to say. It's like what he said about curiosity. Yep. You need to be thinking about, why was that ChatGPT feedback so helpful, right? What did it tell me to do differently that I didn't think to do before, and let me try to put that in a folder somewhere in my mind to try to apply that on my own next time. But if you lose the curiosity and you're not kind of circling back and looking at that, then it's going to become a crutch, and you will at some point become incapable of doing some of that yourself. I love it.
One thing I like to think about is there are some basic rules of humans on this planet. And one of the rules that I believe in is we're here for a journey, and the journey is a struggle. Your life, no matter what happens, whether you are a multi-billionaire, you're constantly elevating yourself and struggling. And if you kind of think about that with the new tool, we're going to have a new tool, but you also want to make sure that you don't, I would say, unengineer the struggle, right? You do want to have a struggle. You want to elevate yourself. You want to question what it said and say, hey, did I learn from the perspective as you interacted? And it gave you a sense of, hey, what that other person was thinking. And it might even be kind of fun at the end of the conversation to say, hey, I had this conversation. It was great. And I got this perspective from AI. Do you think it was right on? So it's kind of like validating it, but then it's kind of making it more normal, because we need that normal interaction between each other. We don't want to get a point where we're Spock. I don't want to see this world, Spock from Star Trek, right? Where he was always like super analyzing everything, and they're like, come on, be a little bit more real, right? We have to keep
Right.
the real part of us right there. We need to understand each other, but we don't want to become like over analyzing life.
Absolutely. Well, when you talk about human interaction and you talk about AI and you're in the Salesforce ecosystem, naturally that lends yourself to the fall event of the year, which is Dreamforce right around the corner. We're all super excited about it. Scott, what are you most excited for Dreamforce here? Other than we all know that human connection and building those networks, that's really what is the heart of Dreamforce. But what are you most excited to see this year? We know they're always coming up with what's the next thing? What's the next big announcement? So what do you think about Dreamforce this year?
I'm really actually excited, weirdly enough, to go back to the Architect Corner. So we probably all heard that, Architected was potentially gone, and now it's back. And one of the most endearing experiences that I've ever had at a Salesforce event, whether it was TDX or Dreamforce, was actually getting to go to the Architect Corner, and they actually have the glass, and you get the solution with people. People are really supportive. It does not even matter whether you're an architect or not. People are going to be like, I like your perspective. Let's see how you would actually solution this. So for me, I was kind of sad when I heard that, Architected potentially was, had its last day. And now that it's going to be back, I'm going to be there really excited to say, okay, it's here, right? We kept it. And we're going to be making really good solutions. Besides that, probably just to see what we've done with Agentforce. We've gone from 1 to 2 to 3, right? And it's kind of, everybody's curious, like, what's new, right? What's next, right? Yeah, probably those two things. How about for you guys? Rachel, probably it might be something around Marketing Cloud, because I know that you like Marketing Cloud.
Well, I wish I was going to Dreamforce. Unfortunately, this year, the company I'm working on, we're launching Epic. So I can't go because that's, pretty important. But if I was going, right, I think, you were talking about Agentforce a little bit. We've been implementing Agentforce. There's a lot of gotchas with it, right? As there are with Salesforce products. But I think, how to make communications more optimized, right? When you look at an Agentforce capability across the platform. So not just Sales Cloud, not just from the perspective of Marketing Cloud, right? But like, how do you really, Salesforce has pitched for years. I've been in the ecosystem over 20 years. And I think for 20 years, I've heard them say customer 360, right? And we're still on that journey. And so, where are we really with that journey and making communications more personalized, irrespective of channel, right? Because we'll get like really good at email, but okay, who really reads emails these days? Like a lot of emails just go in junk folders. So how are we upping our game in text messaging? How are we upping our game, really with the voice and the AI? I think it's, that would be where I would go. Cassandra, what about you?
I'm excited. I'm always excited about Dreamforce. This year, I'm particularly excited to see what the conference has for me. I've overscheduled myself so many times at Dreamforce events, right? Like, I've got to get to this session and, oh, this one's really cool. But since they started the whole notion of we're going to record all these things, right? And we're going to have those available afterwards, I find that I can actually really enjoy the conference more and do things like what you were talking about, Scott. Go to the Architect's Corner, solution with people. I find the campground super excited. I love to go from place to place and hear about maybe vendors, maybe not. Maybe it's, a Salesforce expert that's telling me something new about a technology I've never thought about using in a specific way. So when I started doing that and thinking about the sessions a little bit differently, it really opened up like my mind and made me get the most out of Dreamforce. So that's kind of my plan for this year again, is focus more on the campgrounds and just interacting with people, which I love. Caramy, what about you?
I was going to say, I think mine is in two places. One is I'm trying to sort of get back to my roots, for lack of a better term. Like, what are we doing with the core products? Because we've been so excited about like what's the newest, best, coolest thing, which is great. And we're using a lot of those, but there's also a lot of cool enhancements that are coming out with some of the core products that I feel like, you try to read through those creative release notes and there's only so much you can ingest at a time. And I just want to make sure we're getting as much ROI out of those core products as we possibly can. So I want to hear you like to Cassandra's point from the Salesforce experts, like give me your best pitch as if I didn't already know this product so I can make sure I'm not missing anything. And then the other one is just like, now that we have had Agentforce for, pretty decent amount of time, hearing how others have been using it, because I feel like that's what gets me the most inspired and gives me the most, light bulb moments. Like that, we don't do that, but I could do a version of that would be really cool over here. So I'm excited to see what folks are doing with the Salesforce AI.
It seemed like Rachel and you were both kind of on the same boat where you're looking to, we don't want to just simply have agents or take care of workflow, just to keep us where we are, just replacing humans with agents. What we need to do is actually innovate. We need to come up with new lines of business and new possibilities that we never had before. And then you're actually going to see a higher return on ROI. So from what I've heard, there's been a lot of companies that, hey, they did implement it. They spent a lot of money. They had to let some staff go. And they said, hey, in the end of the day, we're pretty much in the same boat, right? We didn't actually get any more return on our investment. So you have to come up with and say, hey, what's a new product? How can we use it? Whether it's some old functionality that's been glamorized, as you were saying, or it's with AI, whatever it is, it's time for us to innovate and rise up to the next level.
Absolutely. And with that, Scott, this is a very important question. We know just from knowing you were super popular, you were high in demand, and we also know your curiosity of learning, and that is your passion. So we're really curious for all those people that are struggling, looking at how to plan for Dreamforce and how to balance, right? The connection, the going to the architecture corner, the learning of the new products. Like, how do you game plan for Dreamforce of like how you're going to look at it, what you're going to like do throughout the day? How do you kind of tackle that? Do you time box it? Do you just kind of go with the flow? What's your plan?
I think I allow myself to go with the flow, but have some structure. So before I go into this conference, we all know, let's be honest, this isn't there's going to be a lot of Agentforce. So by studying it now, right, a little bit, go on Trailhead, right? See the different models. You don't have to necessarily become a legend, right? But at least get that perspective, because that is the lens that Salesforce is going to be showing all the rest of the tech through, right? But if you have that perspective, then you're not like overwhelmed. Then you could go back to the conference and say, okay, I have that perspective. Now let me look at some of this other stuff and try to make the pieces come together. So that's what I kind of do. I do, occasionally if I have friends that are speaking, I make sure I block those out, because I love to actually get the high to be part of the journey, right? Sit front row, smile with people. You are literally part of their journey and reinforcing in your brain positive behavior for yourself. So I strongly recommend everybody do that, because when you see someone else giving a speech at Dreamforce, your thoughts are probably like, oh, I probably will be doing that soon, right? Or I should be, right? So do that kind of stuff, but allow yourself to be flexible, because there's going to be a lot of Agentforce there, but there might be something else there that you haven't heard about. Like Charlie Isaac, he's going to be showing us something really incredible with those robots. And if anyone watches this podcast before, make sure you check out the robots. Robots are fun, right? They're really pretty cool.
Charlie's always a good time. You can never go wrong with Charlie.
He is smiling. He's like a child in a toy box when he's playing with those. He's really excited about this project. So I'm really excited for him, and I've actually gone to Stafford a few times, and I've seen the robots washing the dishes, and it's just like really cool to be part of the future today.
Well, Scott, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to have to do it again, because half an hour is not enough time. You immediately light up a room. I'm walking away from this feeling inspired. And now I'm just going to scroll through my social media and figure out how to let it turn around my day.
That if anything could happen, right, that I wish I could have an impact, is if I could change social media so that it's not a doom thing, that it lifts people. That would be like the one legacy that I wish I could have, because inevitably we're going to be consuming more and more of it. So let's turn that around so it's a positive thing, and then allow yourself to get out there. Don't just sit there and say, that's really great. Now go out with your friends, grab a coffee. Look what you guys did. You guys saw the ideas and you said, hey, we're doing a podcast. Yeah. Bam, I'm inspired. Right?
Scott, you know what? Let's start the movement now, buddy. Let's create a hashtag. We're just going to start it you've been on this journey for so long. It's been a pleasure to get to know you, to watch you go through this. It was crazy to think this all started in a bar that we met in randomly a year ago. But again, thank you so much. And thank you for coming on. And, anytime you want to come on, you are more than welcome to come back on, buddy. We really appreciate it. Well,
Yes.
with that,
I want to thank each one of you guys. I learned from each one of you guys during this conversation. So that's how it is, right? We get together virtually or in person and we learn from each other. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. With that, thank you guys for tuning in, and Jeremy, take us home.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining today's episode of Coffee Meets Cloud. Our thanks to Scott. Please follow him on LinkedIn. He's doing some really great things out there. We love having you here each week. If you've enjoyed the conversation, please be sure to follow us on social media and connect with us at coffeemeetscloud.com. Don't forget to follow, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That way you'll never miss an episode, and it helps other folks discover the show too. Until next time, keep your coffee strong, and I'll see you guys later.
See you guys.
See you at Dreamforce. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.